You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
Hey, it's Sam Ben Ruby, and this is The Wine List. The Wine List is a new fast-paced podcast featuring the best-in-class wine guests. Each week, I will ask our guests 5 questions about their current wine and food preferences, the same 5 questions I've asked everyone from day one on the Grape Nation. Get ready for the most diverse and interesting recommendations to try now. We'll also find out what's going on in our guests' world. Our guest this week is Aldo Sohm. It's funny, for such a prolific guy, I have such a short introduction, but it says it all. Aldo Sohm is one of the most revered, decorated, and well-known sommeliers in the world. He has overseen the beverage program at 3 Michelin star Le Bernardin for almost 2 decades, along with his eponymous Aldo Sohm wine bar in New York City. He just published his second book, Wine Simple, Perfect Pairings. Welcome to the Wine List, Aldo.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for this kind introduction.
Yes. I could go on and on, like I said.
No.
All right, so today we're going to change it up a little. Usually I do the wine list with the 5 questions, which, by the way, you've answered a few times in the past. We're going to replace the wine list this week with Aldo's holiday wine and bubbly recommendations. Because if my listeners remember, we sit with you this time every year to do that anyway. But when I saw your book was coming out now, I thought it would be a good thing to spend some time on the book too, but not let you get out of here without some picks. So we'll talk about the book after we do the picks. All right, so let's start with the first holiday and wine pick. Some of these may be redundant to what I've asked you in the past, but they're important to people. So you're bringing a bottle of champagne to a dinner, or you're bringing it as a gift, as a holiday thing.
Which is a wonderful idea.
Yeah. So recommend to me the best value, quality to value champagnes, okay? And when you think of that, recommend what you know is accessible. I mean, I know you're in Brooklyn, you walk in and out of the wine shops there, you see what people are selling, you're in Manhattan with the restaurant. So what comes to mind?
Two wines immediately. One is maybe a little bit more boutique, La Herd Frère. It's a small grower champagne. The Ultra Tradition. I think that's a champagne which is super accessible. Not crazy expensive for where we live right now. Right. And the second one, I go to a house, Ritter, the Rosés. When you look at it, you get a vintage champagne for actually not crazy expensive. Many other non-vintage are more. Right. So you have both.
Right. Roederer does that series like 252, 251. That's mixed, non-vintage.
Correct. But I talk about the rosé, and that's a vintage champagne, which to me is actually fantastic.
Right. So those are great recommendations. I was hoping, that they would be 2 good makers and accessible. All right. So after champagne, what's at the top of your list? Keep holidays in mind for sparklers.
For sparklers.
Which is a good idea too, right?
100%. I mean, look, we often sum champagne up as basically one category of sparkling wines. The reality, it's much bigger than that. You could go to Penedès, right? You could go to Italy, and so on and so on. I mean, even domestically.
So can you throw a few makers around? I mean, things that come to mind?
If you go domestically, look, you can go to Iron Horse. You can even, since we mentioned Röder, you can even go to Röder up in Anderson Valley.
Right.
Wenslau actually made once an interesting sparkling wine, which I thought was really spectacular and had an edge.
Nice.
You can go, I mean, look, obviously go to Catalonia. You cannot get by Pepe Raventos.
Right.
First of all, these sparkling wines are super accessible.
And value is great.
Incredible. And to me, this is the closest definition of a grower champagne from Catalonia. Right? I mean, That's
Right.
what you get from him. I mean, the guy goes with the horse. I went there. I looked it out. I mean, those vineyards are.
Yeah,
There's a peace in there. Huh? It's like him.
he's a thoughtful farmer.
Oh, incredible.
He's been on the podcast, so
Yeah.
just a shameless plug that, if you want to
Really?
hear him, right? He's an exceptional. I think you bring him up for all the reasons he deserves to be brought up.
Yeah.
So those are good ones.
Then you could also go. It's not exclusive. You can go to, without a doubt, right now Germany and Austria makes incredible sparkling wine. Just take Bründelmeier, for instance, makes for years and years an incredible sparkling wine.
Okay.
Leumer and so on and so on. There's tons.
I'm a fan of that area too. All right. Last question on this topic. What is your personal splurge? What's the one?
On sparkling?
Yeah, or probably champagne.
Champagne? Oh,
Yeah.
I love Charton Taillé. That's not a big secret.
Okay.
Especially single vineyards.
Do they have a special cuvee that, more expensive, not as available?
I like the Le Bar.
Okay.
Which is a Pinot Meunier ungrafted.
Is it all Pinot Meunier?
It's all Pinot Meunier, 100%, but it's ungrafted, Vivian Française. That's one of them. Secondly, I mean, I can always drink Perèche.
Right.
Right? There's no doubt about it. There's plenty, yeah?
So, but I'm glad.
And if you want to go into the houses,
give me one house, one or two.
I love Boulanger, right? Really fantastic.
I just had a 25-year-old Grand Année.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah. Or then if splurge, I wish I could still afford them, is Salon.
Right. They've been expensive for a long
but,
time, Aldo.
When you get
you
to
must
try
see
one,
them come through here.
No. But whenever I open a bottle, it puts a smile in my face because,
it's still
it's the
that
pinnacle.
good. Yeah. All right, those are good. Did I mention that we'll post these on social media? Because the whole reason I'm sitting here is so people can get some great ideas. All right, next question. Is there a red and a white that symbolizes the holidays to you? Like when you think of this season, the weather changes, the type of food coming, a little heavier ham, turkey, whatever, roast. Is there a white or a red that's almost a default?
For me, it's always wines because this time of the year, but also I'm from Europe. This reminds me of Piedmont immediately, right?
Okay.
The snow-covered Alps when you see from distance. It's also these wines. They are fragrant. They have a hardiness, but yet they're not heavy. They have tannins, but yet they have an edge to it. I find these wines incredibly interesting.
So you're pointing towards
Nebbiolo.
Langhe Barolo.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference towards Barolo over Barbaresco, or vice versa?
No, because I'm not a moody person, but I'm an incredibly moody drinker.
Okay.
And I wouldn't even go necessarily would stock myself down. You can actually go up to Gattinara.
Right.
Right.
There's
you go up
that
to
region.
But they're super interesting up there. They may be a little bit more light-footed, which, me, as I'm getting older, I start liking these wines rather than the more massive, more powerful ones. I still find, there's some really interesting wines from up there. And I'm curious because you always get to learn, right? We often get bogged down in our, what's the top wineries and what's this here and what's established here. But the wine world became so interesting and constantly changing and constantly evolving. That keeps us fresh and vibrant.
Look at Elena from Viette. They left. She's concentrating less on Barolos and making terrific Langhe wines, which play into, what you're talking
Tasty
about.
Wines.
All right, talk to me. That makes total sense.
Oh, look at the Giulia Negri. Right? It's fantastic.
Unbelievable.
Right? Now, are they the most powerful powerhouses? No, but they're not meant to be.
No, that's not necessarily what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Where do you go with a white in the same vein of thought?
Oh, that's a tough question. That's why I answered
Remember
the red
the question.
First. I don't know.
When you think of the holidays, what's the white, that...
I would probably think of a white Burgundy.
Okay. There's a lot
like a Meursault.
Right? Why does that work?
It's just, to me, it gets more... I choose more festive dishes, right? Use some scallops, more some buttery sauces. We go to heavier sauces, and I think, look, I'm fangirling on Rollo. That's also not a big secret.
Yeah.
He's also a friend of mine, and had
But
the
it
great honor to
deserves the recommendation.
had the great honor to do a harvest with him and be the intern, which was amazing. So
Yeah.
I love these wines, and of course, it reminds me always when when we went to the vineyards and check everything out, the ins and outs.
That's a good one. So that works. That came to mind. If you can't afford that stuff, I mean, are you worse off finding a well-made aligote? I mean, would that work? Or
This is in a world where wines have become almost a luxury good to a degree.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is also our fault because we advertised that and we brought it to a broader audience. I guess that's inevitable. I suppose, listen, it bites me too.
Right.
Because even my wife told me stop talking about these winemakers because we can't afford them
That's
anymore.
right.
No, but it is just what it is. But look, it keeps us also. I see this with a positive element. It keeps me looking for new wines.
You know what? You've said that before. That you've been forced.
Yeah, but
you have the knowledge and resources.
We often get a little bit more too comfortable, and that's why I love being in New York. But there's always someone who is faster and better, right? The question is for how long, right?
Right.
So you have to stay on top of the game.
Right.
What I find right now fascinating when you see, and they haven't caught on yet, taste the Chardonnays from Germany. You'll be blown away. What kind of quality
talking
they
to the
deliver.
wrong guy, because I'm very focused on that. I'm happy that you are focusing people towards a varietal that they don't think of that region.
Correct.
True?
Because you think Germany, you think Riesling, right? And if you think again Germany, you think Riesling again, and then the third probably too. And then when there comes a guy and all of a sudden tells him, no, you have to drink Chardonnay, right? And people are floored. But those wines, again, completely overlooked.
Even the Pinots on the other.
Incredible.
You think of other wines, the Pinots there are, unbelievable.
Yeah. And yet people are caught off guard by it, right? But even Austria makes fantastic Chardonnays now.
Yep.
And are they like Burgundy? No, right? But it's a different terroir and it showcases,
right.
But they're serving a great amount of value for your dollar. That's what I look for.
Right. And you shouldn't always look for a wine to replace another one. You should keep an open mind.
Yeah. The problem is, in the post-pandemic world, we start shopping for brands. Yes. It's just a little bit like it's the experience when you go to an Apple store.
Yeah.
Right? You just walk in, it's a different shopping experience, and the feeling of unpacking an iPad. Right?
Yeah.
It's just, but again, these companies, they master this to perfection, right?
I know.
It's almost a better part than using the iPhone, using the iPad itself.
Yeah, the journey is.
And you see this, I see this quite here a bit too. People come with the mindset Burgundy, and if I tell them you want to try something new, perhaps. It's some people, struggle with it, and some people are so in their shopping experience, right? Almost caught up. I mean, listen, I have many liberties in life. Judgment is not one of them,
right?
But I just observe it.
Right. That's interesting. The next question, I actually didn't research this well enough. I should have known the answer, so I'm going to ask it to you. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but there's definitely been a trend towards non-alcoholic beverages. The part I didn't research is I'm not sure how involved you are with those here and at the Aldo Sohm wine bar. I mean, do you have to accommodate the client? Then do you go out and curate what, just tell me a little about that. And then really where I'm going is give me a couple of recommendations, because we definitely have friends that can't drink.
Yeah. I was afraid you would ask me this question. And
not to be controversial, more to help people.
No. It's, look, sometimes I'm in the mood also not to drink anything, not because it's too busy and so on and so on. I'm a little bit in a stuck position here. and I'm being very, very honest about it. I have not come across a non-alcoholic wine where I would have said happily, I have a second glass. And it kind of hurts me because I haven't found it yet.
It's the truth.
Yeah, but again, I just want to make me sure, right? This is not a snarky statement or a belittling statement. It's to me, look, it's the same thing in wine. The best bottle of wine is always the bottle finished first. And the best meal is it's the meal you can have with the same excitement the next day again, right? This can be a hole in the wall dish, right? It's not really, it's not elitist or nothing. But to me, that's often, I have not yet found one. I found recently one thing which is produced in Brooklyn with tea, the sparkling teas. Those I could see, right? There was some, okay, this has an edge.
So it would, if you're sitting around having a nice meal, serving that would fit in, and it's non-alcoholic. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's like a sparkling something.
Correct.
Right. And it's a tea base.
Yes.
Not kombucha.
No. Clean.
Right.
Clean. And they made it even with kettle tea, right?
Is beer the same way? Like, what's the point of drinking beer if you can't drink alcohol?
Then again, it's just, to me, I have no problem with someone doesn't. Again, I'm the same way sometimes. We're just not in the mood.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So that's a telling answer.
But also, it's very young. Look, I think this is a little bit. This is a very young market. This is like when natural wines really came about. Look when the natural wines came out back in the day, and look where they are right now. It's a total different ballgame.
I could say that about box wines. People are putting good quality wines in boxes.
Correct.
Part of it because the vessel is more environmentally.
But again, listen, there's a market, and it's an increasing market. There's no doubt about it.
Last question. I think I ask you this every year. What trends do you see in the restaurants during the holidays? I mean, I'll go first. Do you see more bubbly? But, what are like some interesting or surprising trends?
We're in a transitionary time. You literally can see that. And, I'm a seasoned sommelier. Trends come, trends go. But what is sticking? And it's literally.
So let's go with what's sticking.
What's sticking? I think people still come for Burgundy, right? Whether I agree with that or not, that's a different story, right? They come for champagne. They come for the classics. It's a season where, people celebrate and they come for classics. Some others want to explore. I had yesterday a regular client. He typically always drinks Burgundies and said, listen, let's break out.
What'd they do?
Well, he'd let me bring whatever I wanted.
Okay.
Right. So I gave him a white Burgundy so he had his Burgundy fix.
Wait, did he imply red Burgundy and you just switched him to white?
No. He wanted one white, which was odd because he typically drinks always red. And then he switched over I switched him over to a Spätburgunder from first, which he actually said, I cannot believe how good this wine is. And the second one, I gave him a Commando Hay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
From Daniel Landy.
Yeah, and I didn't think what they can produce this quality in Spain. Right?
Wow.
So yeah.
That's a good one. All right, so that's the recommendation things. I'll post that. Let's get into the book. It just came out. You were kind enough to invite me to the book release party,
of course.
Which was a lot of fun. And it was a really nice party for a well-deserved book. All right, so I'm going to get right into it. You covered, the book is Wine Simple, Perfect Pairings. That's the book. This is your second book. The first book you wrote and published was Wine Simple. So the question is, you covered wine pairings at the end of the first book, Wine Simple. Why write a second book entirely, about pairings? I know you couldn't get into the detail, but is that why?
So here's the dilemma. When we wrote Wine Simple, Christine created this fictional person, a young foodie who is really hungry and curious about the cuisines of the world. But she's too intimidated about wine. And she named her Josephine, like Josephine Schmo. And so we always asked ourselves, if Josephine reads this, does she understand it? Because often wine books, are written by experts for experts, right? Which is okay, right? No, but I'm not a writer. I'm an active sommelier, still working the floor. I see this often. People hold the wine list and they don't even know how to turn it, and all they want is a glass of Sauvignon Blanc, right? Because they're intimidated. And I wanted to take that fear factor away because I have to work with them. And wine is joy. Wine brings people together. And that was the idea. But since the pandemic, I realized one thing because the book came out in 2019, Wine Simple. And since the pandemic, we go out more or we cook more at home. And I always get these text messages from people. Listen, I'm sitting in this restaurant. What?
We're always, right?
Always. I mean, it's nonstop. Or I'm cooking this and this at home. I have clients or friends over. What should I serve? And I realized there's a market. And then when I went back, right, these rules, salt goes with this, sweetness goes with that. That doesn't mean anything for Josephine.
Right.
That's the dilemma. That means for us nerds, and I came to a realization, that's a page filler. But for the normal person, this doesn't mean nothing.
Right.
So I realized, and this is a thing I do at Le Bernardin nonstop anyway, food and wine pairings became one of our big, big signatures. Is this still good?
What?
The tables, the plates?
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
We're at Le Bernardin, Aldo and I, so there's some ambient noise setting
We changed
up.
the location.
But we love that. That's why we're here.
So what I did was here, I thought, how can you explain this to a normal person, right? When a normal person goes out just to find more enjoyment, because if the wine corresponds to the dish, you have a different dining experience. And it's the same experience you unpack your iPad. It's a different
So we're gonna talk about that corresponding.
Correct. So what I did was I thought, how can you break this down? Because when Josephine goes out on a date, she does not have 5 minutes to think about salt goes with this goes with that. That's too long. She has 20 seconds max, right? It's like me going out and it takes me longer than 5 minutes to pick a bottle of wine. And my wife sits across the table, right? The temperature on that table is in free fall, right? So no matter what that wine is.
Right.
So it has to go quick. And the idea was also then, how to develop this a matrix to break this down. So what we did was we tell people also opinions. Why do things marry? But most importantly also, why do they don't? Right?
Those are basic.
Those are things.
You kind of get through that.
And
that's a good setup.
Correct. So we played this out, is where we talk also about, I talk about alcohol, right? And immediately the weight.
So let me, I have questions about that, all right? But before we get into it, did you decide to write this book pretty quickly after Wine Simple?
No.
Or what you're telling me now didn't occur to you until when?
Writing a book, I thought my job was hard.
Yeah, right. So you weren't running to that.
No.
Yeah.
I learned this the hard way.
Okay. Thank God for Christine.
Oh my God, she's an angel.
Yeah.
And she has this incredible talent. This book, when I read the books, I hear myself. When I read the German version of Wine Simple, I don't hear myself. How ironic is that?
That is ironic.
So, no, not at all. It just became, look, Wine Simple is out in 8 different languages now.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah. So it became inevitable. And then, I have my Aldo's angels, they call them, right? With this Gen Z, with my editor, Christine, Elena Sullivan, who designs, or Kimberly Spoon, my agent, right? They kind of, they pushed me.
Right, nudge the thing along.
Yes, so this became a logic choice. Even though they thought this would be a much simpler undertaking, I said this is going to be a heavy undertaking.
Longer to write or about the same?
No, it took longer, because they gave me more time. Wine Simple was the gun on my head.
Okay.
Actually, two,
Do
to get it done. And I'm a timeline keeper. If someone tells me by Friday 8 p.m. you have to hand the script in, we hand it in.
So you benefited from obviously having the time,
In
or maybe not.
in
Maybe
retrospect, I'm not quite sure if it's a
some
blessing or
question,
not.
actually.
Because look, I do this on the side, right? I don't have a
Right.
full-time job, so
Right.
and now like the holiday season, or for us in May, this becomes so intense here. You lose the creativity, and you need a calm mindset to think about those things. You don't have it.
Makes sense.
So I'm not sure if it was better or worse. To me, I like it more quick and get it over with.
Right. Because of what you described is, your lifestyle.
But it needed time. And so that's why this came about, because to me, this is all logic. When I do this with Barbara, the chef sommelier here, she says, how do you, when I taste the wine, I said, this works with this dish. And I said, how do you know? And then we tried, and sure enough, it is. I said, it's logic. And it annoys her because, again, but I don't know how to explain this, right?
Right.
Because I'm doing this for so many years.
Right. Listen, I think part of why you did this is we don't want people to freak out about thinking about wine and food pairings. But in the book, and I hope this is going in the right direction, you say there's a science to it. Tell me a little about this art and science of pairing. And I think you were starting to go through the chapters, which lays it out, right?
What is it? The idea was, how is it to break this down and simplify it? If I'm able to manage to get Josephine to an 80%, then I can do, we're there.
Right.
Right? That's it. I don't want to make a 3 Michelin star sommelier out of her.
Right.
So
Simple.
Simple.
Wine Simple,
right? And then that's ultimately the thing. So I break it down into weights, into alcohol, right? So we level that.
Right. So let's talk, when you've said weight 3-4 times already, explain to people what, weight is in a wine and why it's important to the pairing part. Weight is what it sounds like, right? A heavier wine, a lighter wine, right?
Yeah, but it's very hard for someone outside to understand that. So I'm trying to make, the reader sensitive towards it. Weight in terms of, you look at the alcohol level. Where is it? An 11% wine, alcohol wine, is probably lighter than one with 15.
Right. Big Napa Cab versus
correct. So it's just we make the reader think about it. Same with acidity. And that continues. And then basically I build one thing up. I build up the weights. How to structure this in weight 1, 2, and 3, and 4.
I think acidity, can be so present in wine, and some wines are not acidic. But tell people.
I get into this in a second because that becomes absolute key.
Go ahead.
To look into it, because that's when I stumbled all the time. So I kind of broke this down in weight 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Light and crisp, medium-bodied and expressive, full-bodied and complex, and powerful and concentrated. And let's go into wine weight 1. For instance, I take here the Muscadet, right? That's style of wine.
That's a number. That's a 1 wine.
That's a 1. It's light.
Lighter.
It's crisp. It's fresh.
Which leans towards lower alcohol.
Low alcohol. It's lean. Right? It's
Where does
Bourgogne.
acidity fall?
High.
Right.
Right. So it appears actually lighter than it actually often is. Right. So, and I did this the same in the reds as well. I broke them down as well. Now,
4 categories in the reds?
4 categories as well. I did this the same in sparkling wine, just with 3. I did this in sweet wine and everything. So again, I made this user-friendly. And to bring this then ultimately together was one thing. How to make her sensitive also on eating, Josephine. When we talk about weight in food, what weight are we talking about here, right? Is it a fat? Because fat has a similar respondence to alcohol.
So you're analyzing the food with similar care to the wines.
Correct.
You can't go so in on one and disregard the other, right?
In today's world, we're always distracted by cell phones and by anything else
Really?
surrounded it, right? So look, when we talk about fat, Are we talking about beef, chicken, a salmon, different fats,
Totally.
butter, or an olive oil, or just from nuts? So, and we bring this together. Are we talking about sweetness? What sweetness are we talking about? Is it basically from sugar, or is it just when we roast Brussels sprouts and the starch converts into
Natural,
sweetness?
right.
Right? We don't think about it, but that's why I wanted to make her also, Josephine, also more sensitive to that.
But to that point, can you bring up one thing that I always kind of wrestle with? How a protein or vegetable, what you're talking about, is also dressed. Because if you have a beef and there's a sauce on it, don't you have to pay much attention to that?
The sauce is everything.
Okay.
To me, as you know, the as also the way how it's produced. Is it poached? Is it grilled? Is it just seared? Right? Makes all the difference. Once it's poached, lighter, delicater. If it's grilled, I have elements, right? There's a charred effect, right? The Maillard effect. I can work with red wines already too a little bit. And then the sauce is basically the engine. I can go in different directions with the sauce. So that's the driving force. And also, how much sauce do you use? Do you use only 3 spoons or do you use 6?
Right.
Changes completely too.
Totally.
Where it comes into the engine, because I wrote a chapter here. Sauce changes
There you
everything,
go.
right? But when I bring it together, and this is where I often describe this to Christine, a triangle. I look for acidity, I look for residual sugar, and I look for the alcohol.
That's
So, and for her, this was highly confusing. Because of course, this becomes highly technical as a sommelier. But then tennis come into the game, and then another game, and then she said, "You know what? I give you homework with 10 dishes." So she gave me 10 dishes as a homework, and then one day I cracked the enigma because I talked with Eric about it because this was I was on meltdown mode for April, May, and
Okay.
June, where I developed this matrix, and I tried to explain it to Christine then. And we were on FaceTime on audio because this was the most effective way, time effective way to work as well. And then I said to her, look, this works like an algo rhythm. But with my accent, she understood Aldo rhythm. And that's how.
So in the book, there is an algorithm, an Aldo rhythm that will help you along with this.
Correct.
There's a chapter, Meet the Aldo.
Meet the Aldo rhythm. And for instance, since I mentioned earlier Muscadet, I actually made here the example about it. Right? Where we talk about how do we bring this together. Look at an oyster with lemon spritz. It looks like the restaurant is starting.
I know, it's okay. We're almost done.
Take an oyster. There's no fat.
Right.
It's a wine weight one.
It's saline too.
Yeah,
right?
it's a wine weight. It's a food weight 1. Right? Right? There's no fat. I can go with a wine weight 1. It's easy.
Right.
What's the dominant taste? It's basically the little bit of lemon juice I put on. And then I stay in wine weight 1, and then I can start dialing it in. 20 seconds.
Perfect. Perfect example.
I can do the same thing with spaghetti meatballs. Right?
All right, that's
a very
a good
home
one.
cooking dish.
Because you have meat and you have pasta.
Pasta.
And sauce.
Yeah, but how much?
3 elements.
How much do I look at? I look at the fat.
Right.
How much fat is there? Not that much.
And the meatball's drier, right?
Yeah. It's probably rendered too a little
Right.
bit, right? So it's a wine weight 2. I go into wine weight 2 as well. Right? Food weight 2, wine weight 2. And then a dominant taste is the tomato sauce, the sweetness.
So in laying this out, what's the best way to use the book? Because if anybody who's listening to this says this all makes sense and I'd like to, read the book and get more detail, but you read the book, how do you remember all this stuff? I mean, what's the best way to use the book?
So look, and I had recently Christine interviewed me for her newsletter because for her, and this is the interesting part, we all learn differently.
Right. Of course.
That's the fascinating part. Christine loves basically this cheat sheet. This goes with this cuisine goes with that.
So the back of the book.
Yeah, the back of the book
is the Christine part.
Yeah, like for instance here, all of these dishes.
Yeah, that part's amazing.
Yeah,
but to me, it's so comprehensive.
I understand, but to me, who cares? What is the greatest joy? I said, we take the intimidation away, and you go on exploring. When we get, our childhood, we taste everything, we explore everything. Everything becomes a game, and it's playful. That's what this book should take the fear away.
What about the guy who says, I want to eat and drink what I want. Screw the rules. I'm eating high alcohol Bordeaux with salmon.
And that's absolutely okay.
Okay.
I don't take judgment. Look, but eventually, once the person had the right experience, it will change. I know that.
I agree.
Right?
I agree. So really,
And when that happens, it's the decision up to the reader.
the book is it lays everything out in detail, and then you also have the cheat sheets, at the end, which
Again,
is
you have useful tips and tricks.
all right. So two more things. You mentioned it, and I think when you come to a place like a La Bernardine or good restaurants, desserts are a big deal. I mean, they're invented in the restaurant, they're made in the restaurant. That's a whole pairing thing too. What are a few things we should think about desserts and pairing?
You know, by then, if you have an 8-course tasting meal like with us, just put yourself onto the reins, because to me, I don't like one thing when you come home and you're in a food coma.
Right.
Right? I try to avoid that under all costs.
And sweet wines can
They can
further put you
completely.
port will kill you.
Yeah, so I come up with the sweetness about the same level to the dessert, right? If you if you stay below, you probably will fail, but you have to bring it up. But be mindful, because sometimes certain desserts give you access to something completely different. Like for instance, we have here our egg, right? I give a beer
Famous.
with it, right? And it's not sweet at all. It's just more refreshing. I think
Right.
of that,
Right.
of the well-being.
That's a good one. All right, let's wrap up. Do you answer two questions? You may have answered it already. The classic pairing. I mean, is that champagne and oysters?
For instance, we drink a Burgundy with Dover Sole. I mean, there's plenty of
Right.
that.
So there's no answer to that. But this was one of the wine list questions. The question was, Aldo, what's your favorite wine and food pairing? Let's take that to the book level and say, what's your favorite wine and food pairing? And does it lean into being a classic or is it not?
I wish I could answer that question, but here's the dilemma. What I have. When I go out and when I travel and discover new cuisines, I put the mindset of a 5-year-old on. No judgment. I just look, learn, and explore,
That's
and
the
learn
way to
from
do
others.
it.
Right?
There's
Forget
Aldo
about right or
Sohm
wrong.
telling you, take yourself out of yourself and look at it as a kid.
Correct.
I love that.
And that's when the magic is happening.
That's great. All right, Aldo, we have to wrap up for a lot of reasons. You're busy. The restaurant's starting to do some service. Let me do some wrap up info. I want to find out where to get the book and all that. But before we wrap up the show, we're going to do a little holiday giveaway. We have 3 Panier wine bags to give away. Do you know the Panier wine bags? They're made really well. Let me tell you about Panier. It's more than a wine bag. It's made first and foremost from experience. It's the service grade wine carrier born from the floor and built for the street. My friend, wine professional Nick Bradley, founded and designed the Panier wine bag, blending luxury, sensibility, and workhorse durability. The Panier bags have one-piece straps that won't fail, an EVA padded base, and ice pack pockets. Here's what we're going to do. Between now and December 31st, if you follow us on Instagram, you'll be entered into the drawing for one of the bags, and I'm just going to pull somebody random and give them away. So go to our Instagram account, which is not the wine list. It's at SBenrubi, at SBenrubi, and we'll pick a winner by the end of the year. All right, so thanks for listening. If you'd like to contact the wine list, we're at sam@thegrapenation.com. That's sam@thegrapenation.com. The wine list is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, wherever you get your pods. Please subscribe to the podcast and leave a review if you like what you hear. Follow us on Instagram, as I mentioned, @BenRuby, on X @BenRuby, and on Facebook at The Grape Nation. I'll post Aldo's holiday picks on our social media sites. Aldo, if people want to get the book, I'm asking you first, where should they go and get it?
They can get pretty much in every major bookstore.
Okay, so it's
They can-
available. It's out there. Obviously,
if you want to pick it
Amazon.
up at Aldo Sohm Wine Bar and have a glass of wine with
Okay.
it, even better. I'm happy
Right
to
in
sign it for
Midtown.
you.
Perfect
Same at Le
location.
Bernardin.
Okay. So the book is Wine Simple, Perfect Pairings. Follow up to Wine Simple. Where can we find you on social media?
At Aldo Sohm.
ALDOSOHM. Okay, and Aldo's wine bar is at Sohm Bar, and La Bernardine is La Bernardine. Do you have? I know we just talked about not writing a book, but do you have another one in
Oh, no,
you
no,
somewhere
basically,
down there? Are you done?
I had no intention to write one book, let
All
alone
right.
two. But they're asking me already.
All right, Aldo. Thank you to our guest, Aldo Sohm. Congratulations on the new book. Have a great holiday season. Thank you to our engineer, Armin, and Willie Soul for our new original soul music. I'm Sam Ben Ruby, and you just got this week's holiday wine picks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. Keep in touch at heritageradionetwork.org/subscribe.